Our next speaker is John Lowe. The name of his talk is The Art of Conversation in a Technology Culture. John Lowe knows that we all need to remember how to communicate with people. And some quotes of his are, "Simplicity is the key to creating a compelling message, and your message should be a bridge taking people from where they are to where they wish to be." So please welcome John Lowe.
So let's take a little history lesson and take you back to the beginning of civilized time, and civilized, I guess, is a relative term. But if you think about the people that were the leaders back in that point in time, they were always the greatest speakers. Why? Because they had to be. That was the only way to communicate back then, was through the spoken word. And so the leaders of government or commerce or society, they had a choice of being a great speaker and leading, or being a not so great speaker and maybe ending up on the floor of the Colosseum. So let's fast forward to the founding of our country. Again, can you imagine if you've got to make a presentation and you've got to tell people that this little conglomerate of states, this loosely confederated group, is going to take on the British Empire? You better be a pretty good speaker. Anybody seen the movie Lincoln? If you've seen the movie or if you've read books about Abraham Lincoln, you realize that he was one of our great storytellers. And as a matter of fact, not only did he keep the country together during the Civil War, but he was basically elected because of his ability to give a speech and to engage in a debate. And then around his time, technology started to eke into the communication world. And this machine, a telegraph machine, really was the first time that it allowed us to communicate over great distances with people. Now, it wasn't verbal, it was typed out, but I kind of call this the original Twitter machine because I almost guarantee you every telegraph message was less than 140 characters. So you know this guy, Alexander Graham Bell. Now, he decided he could invent a machine that would allow us to communicate verbally with someone that wasn't even in the room, maybe not even in the same building. Imagine that sales pitch. Hey, I can build this machine and you can talk through the airwaves and somebody will magically hear you. Yeah, sure. So the telephone was a great boon for communications, and I venture to say it was probably the greatest boon to teenage love affairs, because I don't know what we all talked about for hours a night with our high school girlfriends and boyfriends. But the thing that it did that was on the flip side, it took us away from the face-to-face communication that you get through doing presentations or having conversations. So I'm going to get back to that later. Anybody know what a Fuller brush man is? Some people old enough here to know that. Back in the day, commerce was done strictly by face-to-face, whether it was in your living room, whether it was in an office, whether it was in a retail store. But people sold things. They made business happen by the strength of their pitch, their knowledge, their convictions. Okay, this came along, the personal computer. I worked for Apple, by the way, almost back at that time. And the personal computer revolutionized communications because for the first time we had gabs and gabs of information at our disposal, and you could make reports and do all kinds of things with it. Put it on one of those little floppy disks. Anybody ever heard of that? Give it to somebody else and they would know what it was in their personal computer. Amazing. ARPANET. You all know what the internet is. This was the original internet. It was a scientific network. It was a research network before it became a commercial and social network. And this, because the internet has given us the ability to be connected out to the whole world, to people that we will never see and never know. You've got mail. Who can remember before there was email? Very few of us in here. I can, I hate to say. But email allowed us to quickly type out a message and shoot it off to people, one, maybe a group of people. And sometimes, guess what? We didn't think very hard about the message. Any of you ever send an email that you wish you didn't? Yeah. So that was a barrier to communication as well as a boon to communication. Then we all got cell phones. We all got mobile devices. And we started, what? Texting. And now we replaced tennis elbow with texting thumb. It became a new injury that people had. But again, we were creating a whole new language of abbreviations, taking letters out of words and making up, what was it, TTFN? Things of that nature. And we were changing the way we communicate. This is where we are now, the world of social networking, right? We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got LinkedIn, we've got YouTube, we've got Instagram, we've got hundreds and hundreds more coming every week. And this is literally changing the way we communicate with each other. And so, you're probably now saying, John, thanks for the history lesson. We really appreciate it. It was kind of entertaining. Or what's the point? What's the problem? Well, here's the problem. We are developing a generation of people that have trouble communicating without technology. Any of you talk to your teenagers in your life? They have a hard time expressing even what they did at school. They've got to have their iPad or whatever in front of them. And so here's the problem with that, because in business, when you get out in the real world, if you want to accomplish anything, I don't care what your career is, what your business is, what your role is, at some point in time to accomplish something great, you've got to share that, you've got to convince other people through the power of persuasion. And so let's take some examples. The job interview. Did you know that HR managers that were surveyed said that the #1 soft skill that they look for in people coming after a job is the ability to communicate verbally, to tell their story? There's a lot of young people today that can't do that. And when they go to get a job, you can email in your resume, but you can't email in your interview. So, how about leading a meeting? Did you know that it is estimated that 50% of all meetings are a waste of time? We probably all know that, right? That accumulated waste of time results in 1 wasted business day per employee per week in the United States. Imagine if you were great at leading a meeting. Imagine how valuable you would be in your organization. How about selling an idea? Now, most of you say, well, sales, that's not in my business. That's not in my job description. I don't do that. You're wrong. We all sell every day, right? We sell ideas, we sell our plans, our goals, our dreams. Maybe we sell products, maybe we sell services. But that is done through the power of one-on-one or one-on-many, selling your idea, not twittering. It's from the power of communications, personal communications. Delivering a presentation, you actually get to use technology. It's a great thing, right? Can be, but many times it results in this. Boring slides, a bunch of bullets being read by a presenter. Why? Because they don't take the time to learn how to communicate without the technology. They depend on their slides. They depend on the information. That's not what makes a leader. This guy you all recognize, the late Steve Jobs. Do you know that he had a rule for his meetings at Apple? If you came to his meeting, you were not allowed to give a presentation. You were not allowed to use slides. Why? He wanted to know what you thought, not what you could read on a slide. Imagine how scary that would be if you walked into a meeting and that was the rule. So, this is the last slide. What's my pitch? What's my call to action for you all? If it's good enough for Warren Bennett, it's good enough for me. If you want to accomplish anything in life of value, learn to be a great communicator, because I guarantee you it will be an automatic elevator to the top of whatever it is you might want to do. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.